Paddleboarding at English Bay, twerking at the Roxy. It's summertime in Vancouver, and everything is beautiful. But all I can think about is the Vancouver Canucks. Who's gonna make the opening night roster? Are there any other Elias Petterssons the Canucks can go and trade for? Can Evander Kane score 30? Is Jonathan Lekramaki gonna make the team? Can Petey bounce back? So instead of going outside and enjoying the great outdoors, I'm doing what any reasonable fan would do. I'm locking myself inside and playing NHL 25's franchise mode until I win the Stanley Cup with the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I don't usually make this kind of content, and don't worry, real Canucks coverage is coming soon, but first, I've got a cup to win.
Previously on Nuckhead.
I took over this team on July 9th, so any real-life trades or signings made after that date won't be reflected in this series. Rule number 1, I'm not allowed to trade any of the Canucks core players prior to winning the Stanley Cup. I selected a 6'3" winger from Russia named Sergei Skvortsov, who just so happened to be an 82 overall sniper with low franchise potential. It's an 8-year, $140 million contract with a full no-move clause attached. He said yes. We finished with a record of 52, 22, and 8. The Stars went on to win the Stanley Cup, and Hughes won both the Art Ross and the Norris Trophy, but I'm pissed. It looks like I'll be staying inside for a bit longer. Alright, it's now the 2028 offseason. We're gearing up to enter our 4th year of trying to bring the Stanley Cup to Vancouver without dismantling the core of the team, and each season I fail at this is another summer day lost inside a video game, so the stakes are high. Looking at our expiring contracts, there's one glaring issue, and it's not that Nils Big Hog Höglander doesn't want to re-sign with us. It's the fact that we can't even afford sending him an offer. It's not an unfixable problem, but it does mean I'm going to have to move a player I'd rather keep, and unfortunately, that player is going to be Kiefer Sherwood. We just can't afford to be paying him as much as we are right now. So let's enter the draft and see what we can get for him. Well, it's not much, but Colorado's offering a couple picks for him, so I'm going to accept. Goodbye, Chief Keef. As for the draft, who cares? I don't have a pick until round 3, and even if I did, it doesn't matter. We're in win now mode, and I doubt we're gonna draft another gem like we did last season, so let's just skip over it. Here's the list of guys I picked. I got some good names, but that's about it. My favorites being Riley Festerini and Kenny Hurd. Now, before I get into the re-sign phase, there were some pretty notable players that retired this offseason. Sidney Crosby, who's already been named head coach of the Penguins, Anze Kopitar, Artemi Panarin, and unfortunately, Tyler the Chaos Giraffe Myers. It's too bad. I would have loved to see him raise the cup above his head 800 feet in the air. So, starting with UFAs, I'm going to be real quick here. I released Rust, Rasmussen, Blumel, Jankowski, and Stetcher. I re-signed Carlson, Brisebois, obviously, Oman, Liljeberg, Safonov, and Wu. And I also brought back RFAs Josh Bloom, Vilmer Ulrichsen, Ty Mueller, Sawyer Minio, and Anthony Romani. And then, last but not least, after negotiating with him for quite some time, I offered Höglander a 3-year, $30 million deal with a full no-move clause, and he accepted. I didn't have much cap space to work with heading into free agency, so I couldn't do anything crazy, but I didn't really want to anyway. I feel like our team's good enough. That said, I did bring in Bobby McMahon and Klim Kostin, both on 2-way deals, just in case things get hairy in the playoffs. Here's what our lines look like heading into the 2028-2029 season. This team is stacked. If we don't win the cup this year, I really am going to be pissed. It's no longer cup or bust, it's cup and bust. And Coach Horton seems to agree with me for once, so that's good. Let's sim right to the deadline and see where we're at. Okay, so we're 67 games in, 1 day away from the trade deadline, and we've got a record of 40, 24, and 3, which is good enough for second in the Pacific Division. Brock Boeser is leading the team in points. He's also got 51 goals in 60 games, which is absolutely insane. We're second in goals for per game, 11th in goals against per game, which is fine. We've got the second best power play, no surprise there. The only area that still needs improvement is our penalty kill. So let's jump into the deadline and see what we can get. Ooh, JT Compher's available. And the Canucks are batting 1,000 when it comes to players named JT. St. Louis is going to have to retain salary to make this work, though. What if we offer our first round pick in this year's draft and Danila Klimovich? Oh, nice. He's going to be a big help on the penalty kill, I think. Okay, what else do we need? Probably some depth on the blue line. Adam Boqvist. Actually, yeah. What if we offered Sawyer Minio, a goalie prospect, and a second-round pick? Wow. Okay, we've got Boquist. I feel like that was an extremely successful deadline. We lost some depth in Abbotsford, but we gained a couple really solid players. I swear, if we don't win the Cup this season, I'm changing my name to Terry Generous. Here's what our lines look like after those moves. Let's sim to the end of the season. Okay, it's the end of the regular season. We finished second in the division with a record of 49, 27, and 6. We were third in the entire league. Boeser finished with 62 goals in 75 games. Petey hit 100 points for the third season in a row. Hughes had another 100-point season. Big Hog had 89 points. Abbotsford finished first in their division with a record of 50, 28, and 4. They were led by a dominant rookie season from Manny Malhotra's son Caleb. He'll probably be ready to play in the NHL next season, maybe Coots too. Anyway, our first round opponent is Seattle, which doesn't seem all that scary until you take a look at their lineup. Their forward group is stacked, and that's without Filip Hronek, who's injured right now. Their defense is solid, I guess, and their goaltending is fine. Man, I swear, if we lose to this team, I'm going to change this channel name to Crackhead and start following the Kraken. We took Game 1, 6-4. Lekromaki potted a hat trick, and Hughes had a 4-point night. Game 2 looked to be destined for overtime, tied 2-2 in the final minutes, but then Vince Dunn scored with 12 seconds left, and Seattle won 3-2. Game 3 was tied at zeros with just 10 minutes left in the game, but then Jake Evans busted in on a breakaway and didn't score. Instead, in the final minute, the Kraken scored. And to add insult to injury, shortly after, the newly healthy Filip Hronek sealed the deal with an empty netter. The Kraken won Game 3 2-0. Then they beat us 6-3 in Game 4. Let's sim Game 5. Yeah, so this game was a real nail-biter. It was tied 2-2 heading into OT, so I jumped into the sim and with my livelihood on the line, watched one of the worst hockey games I've ever seen. The AI in this game is so incredibly stupid, it really had me pondering my life choices. I could be in a Speedo on the beach right now, but instead I'm watching this shit. Luckily, Josh Norris ended up scoring the winner to keep us alive in the series. And then we pummeled them 5-2 in Game 6 to complete the comeback and tie the series at 3. Boeser opened the scoring just over 3 minutes into the first period of Game 7 with a goal on the power play, and that stood as the only goal of the period until Stevenson snuck one by Demko in the final minute to tie it up at 1s. Nobody scored in the second or in the third, and just like Game 5, we'd need overtime to solve this one, so I jumped in to watch some more terrible hockey, and I mean terrible. I feel like the technology to make a simulation like this look good does exist. I don't know why EA doesn't use it. The only realistic part is watching Quinn Hughes skate up the ice like he's the only guy playing, but everything else is truly a shit show. Anyway, Connor Garland made a sweet feed to Hughes, and Hughes sniped home the game-winning goal, sending the Canucks into round 2. I'm not gonna lie, as lame as it sounds, I may have let out a tiny little cheer when that went in. I really don't want to have to start a whole new season. Our second round opponent is the Ducks, one of the only two teams that finished with a better regular season record than we did. They also swept us in the first round back in 2027. We only scored 3 goals on them back then. It's time for some revenge. We can beat them. Who cares if they have arguably the best top 6 in the entire league? And so what if they're a deeper team defensively than us? And yeah, they also have last year's Vezina winner playing for them in goal too, but whatever. This might be where the fun ends. Game 1 went to OT and Roger Lightning McQueen scored, 1-0 Anaheim. We won Game 2 thanks to a last-minute goal from Connor Garland, series tied 1-1. Game 3 ended in almost identical fashion, except it was Josh Norris tallying a late one to win the game, 2-1 Canucks. Then we took a pounding in Game 4. I don't know what went wrong, but we lost 5-2 and allowed the Ducks to tie the series. We scored first in Game 5 and held the 1-0 lead for an entire period, but the Ducks eventually tied it up, and after a back-and-forth third period, they ended up winning 4-2 and were just 1 win away from eliminating us. Thankfully, our core guys woke up in time for Game 6. All 5 of them made an impact in this one. Petey had 3 points, Hughes had 4 points, Demko didn't let anything by him, and we won 6-0 to stay alive. Game 7 was a lot closer though. The Ducks were playing way better. They were only down by 2 goals after 40 minutes this time, and even managed to cut that deficit to 1 with a goal early in the third period, but then they collapsed. We scored more goals in the final 10 minutes of this game than we did in all 12 of the periods we played against them in 2027. We dumped them 7-1 and were on our way to the conference finals for the second year in a row. Except this time, we were up against the other green team, the Minnesota Wild. The Wild have an extremely scary first line, an all-right second, a pretty good third, and a pretty good fourth. Their deep pairings are fine, they don't really bother me. It's their goaltending duo that freaks me out though. This should be interesting. They went down pretty easy in Game 1 though. We beat them 6-2 to take the 1-0 series lead, And then game 2 was a lot closer, just kidding, we spanked them 8-1, Boeser got a hat trick and Skvortsov scored twice. Game 3 was actually a lot closer, but we still came out on top thanks to a 36-save performance from Thatcher Demko. We are now 1 win away from the Stanley Cup final. However, in Game 4, the Wild's offense finally woke up and managed to put 4 past Demko. Unfortunately for them, we scored 5 times. So we won and advanced to the Stanley Cup final. And guess who we're playing? The Rangers. Demko versus Shesterkin, Hughes versus Fox, Pettersson versus Miller. I mean, come on, this is perfect. Their top 6 is fairly stacked, although I do think they miss Artemi Panarin, who retired at the end of last season. They're pretty strong defensively, but nothing we can't handle, obviously. Same goes for their goaltending. I say we sim game 1 and see what happens. Yeah, so we got goalied in game 1. Let's sim game 2. We got goalied again. 2-0 Rangers. Let's go to game 3. Okay, we're down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final. I don't really want to talk about it. Let's just sim game 4. All right, well, at least we won 1 game. They got goalied this time, which is nice. Let's do game 5. All right, well, it's tied 2-2 heading into overtime. Let's see what happens.
A few moments later.
Wait, will this game actually let me come back and win after going down 3-0 in this series? I really hope so. Let's sim game 6. Alright, so this one was tied at 3 heading into the third, so I jumped in to watch, and well, it was terrible again. I swear these guys have no idea what they're doing. The fact that my summer is on the line right now is really upsetting to me, and I did this to myself. Not a single one of you asked for this, I'm just doing it. Anyway, Pettersson scored the game winner, the series is tied 3-3, and I actually might be able to see my friends again. Let's watch game 7 right from the start. Shesterkin robbed Pettersson, then he stopped a chance for Hronek, JT Miller murdered Big Hog. Then Vlad Gavrikov got called for cross-checking, and on the ensuing power play, Josh Norris took advantage, scoring his 6th goal of the postseason to put Vancouver up 1. Then, in the second period, it was all Thatcher Demko. He stopped every single stupid shot he faced and managed to keep the score 1-0 heading into the third period. I can feel the sun peeking through the blinds right now. It's beautiful. Terry Generous is calling me. And then in the third period, Norris scored his 2nd goal of the game to make it 2-0, and at that point I knew it was over. I just sat back and watched the time tick down, and man, I cannot express how relieved I am. This was meant to be one video, not however many it is now. I'm very happy this is done. The Rangers scored a late one, but it didn't matter. The Canucks won the Stanley Cup. So, yeah, point proven, I guess? If surrounded by the right pieces, the current core of the Vancouver Canucks are more than capable of winning a Stanley Cup sometime in the next 5 years. I think that was my point, right? Okay, thanks for watching. Bye! Thank you to these wonderful Nuckheads for supporting what I do by becoming channel members. If you want to become a channel member, all you have to do is click the join button down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.